What were you doing which was so special?
I think it was passion for whatever I did. Yeah, I'm an electronic engineer. So electronics was my passion. And I think once you work with passion, then the time doesn't matter, hard work doesn't matter. And in fact, I remember the initial periods, the first 4 years of Eros. I would sleep, eat, everything was just dreaming about how the business would grow.
Yes.
Also, there were times when, if there was a holiday, I would be very upset because there was a day's business that was lost.
Yeah.
So that was the kind of passion. And
I'm sure your family was extremely impressed by that.
well, they had to do some sacrifices, obviously, for that. So I'm not sure whether they were happy about it or not, but they were supportive.
One of the things I forgot when I was speaking about the other leaders also, and I knew there was something really important. There were 11 men there that we interviewed as leaders. But with those 11 men, I think there were at least 11 women there, that these men would not have been there had those women not been there. And almost everybody in the interview acknowledged their wives' contributions, their partners' contributions to make that happen. So, Jayashree, thank you for that. Seriously, I mean, I think that's part of why you guys succeed, because you've got a stable home environment and a supportive environment, and off you go.
I mean, I remember earlier times, there would be times that I would tell her 3 days before, I'm going to leave tomorrow for Japan. And I never had any time that she would say, well, why are you going? Or, why did you cancel a trip?
Right, right.
When it was business, there were no questions asked.
Yeah. Can I go to Jayashree? Do we have a mic by any chance? Can somebody get a mic? If we'll get the mic, and then I'll come back to that question. During these stages, your children were growing, and they were going to college and so on. What was your advice to them as they were growing and developing?
I always told my children, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, whatever career they select, as long as they have passion to do that, I will help them to pursue it.
Did you spoil them a lot? Did you make them, because you came through the hard way and worked from the ground, but they were born into a comfortable environment?
Not really. I mean, I was always conscious that I kept this balance.
Right.
So, for example, my son was studying in NYU, New York. So I always would keep on a very tight budget so that he knows the value of money. Not that, I could give it to him,
yes.
But, he should have the feel that, money is not easy to...
So the value of money, same values that your father gave to you,
Exactly.
You passed on to your...
I tried to do it. So.
Before we go into the second phase of your father's life, can you talk to us about what sacrifices you had to go through in the early stages when he was running around busy and never available?
I used to tell my friends that I'm my husband's second wife.
Your husband's second wife, the first wife being Eros?
His work.
His work, okay. Okay. But even as a second wife, I mean, the reason I'm asking this question is a lot of us work very, very hard, and our spouses are always concerned that we're never there. What did you feel then, and how do you feel now about the sacrifices that you made at that point in time?
Honestly, I didn't feel it was a sacrifice because I had seen my father work like that. I had seen Deepak's father work like that, so it was just the norm.
And did you feel that when he was working so hard that he would, 20 years ago, that he would be today where he is?
Absolutely not.
Absolutely yes?
No.
Never?
Never.
Really? Why is that?
No, I knew he would be successful with what he does. But my husband, he never says that, oh, I'm going to do that. He just does what is there, and he goes on with it.
Okay. Now, moving fast forward into what really has produced the breakthrough success, which is Samsung. Could you tell us a little bit about that and how it came together? Then we can get into some of the details.
In fact, around the 90s, the 95, 96, we just had the Hitachi distribution, which we tried to reinforce very strongly. And that was kind of tapering off in terms of growth. And we were looking at what next engine to add on to the business so that we could grow at that 30-40% that was being targeted. So we started looking for agencies, and of course, Samsung came in. But when Samsung came in, we never expected that Samsung would grow the size that it is today. We started with fax machines and PA-BIG systems, and within a year and a half, we got the Samsung Mobile. And that was the turning point in our business with Samsung. In 2.5 years, the mobile business grew very, very rapidly. So we were selling something like 100,000 mobiles a month. Looking at the success of the Samsung mobile phones, Samsung then offered us the distribution for the LED panels and the audio systems. That helped us to again grow. So Samsung, between I would say 2002 to the current level, Samsung has helped us to grow at least at the rate of 35-40% at the minimum at any point of time.
It's always fascinated me how great leaders like you can scale from almost nothing to over 3 billion now that you have.
4 billion.
4 billion, so there we go. You're growing at that rate. What kind of thought processes do you go through, and what kind of systems and structures that you have to rapidly deploy to absorb that growth? I've always found that extremely fascinating.
Basically, for us, you see, we have to align ourselves with our principles. So the first very important step is to understand what the principal is looking at in terms of growth. So, for example, when it was, I remember when at one of the meetings that we were in Korea, we were given a target that, for example, in the flat panels, we need to be number one in the UAE. And that was in the night at the dinner table. The next morning, when we went for the meeting and we were sitting out for lunch, that goalpost changed. What we had to do was be not only the highest, but twice of LG. And those days, LG was 23%. So we're talking of more than 50% market share from 35. So, and the challenge was to say, well, yes, we can do it. And we did it, I showed it to them. Of course, principal support is always there. But trying to realign ourselves to the new challenges that the principal wanted us was the real challenge.
You have a major competitor, a very sexy competitor, a powerful one in Apple. How do you deal with that? How do you differentiate?
I think very important that we do a sort of whatever whatever products we handle. So, for example, if you look at Apple and if you look at Samsung, Samsung has been a very, very strong brand as far as the hardware is concerned. The weak side is the software, and that's why they tied up with Google to come onto the Android platform. Yeah. I think as Apple, for them, the American market, the European market are more important. The Middle East is still not on the radar. So, for example, if you have
you're lucky then.
Yes. So that's a SWOT. We realize that there's a gap, and we need to fill this up as soon as possible, and that's what we've done in the last 2 years. We ramped our business, whether it's after sales service, whether it's staff, whether it's training to the staff, whether it's merchandising staff. Everything has been put together to ramp up our market share. So, for example, currently our market share on mobile phone, especially smart mobile, is about 55 to 60%, as compared to Apple, which is about 20%.
Let's move into your leadership style and the culture that you build in your organization, because you cannot achieve results like that without having a very strong culture. What are the key things that you tell your staff?
I think the way we work is basically, I work on a management style which is called management by consensus. So whenever we have a problem, we put our heads together. And therefore, when the solution comes in, it's not what I think is the solution. It's a joint effort that's been put in. Sometimes I might even sacrifice my own stand on a particular issue if the consensus is very strongly on a particular idea.
But doesn't that take much longer and decision-making become much more tedious?
No, we have been very quick at it. Just to give you one example, which we had was, we had a particular business, I don't want to name the business, sure. But we had a business which was a very high turnover, very low margin business. And we had almost 75% of the managers were sitting on the table saying that we must take up this business. And I am particularly very allergic to low margin business. I don't touch anything where the margins are very, very low. And where, then that thought process or the marketing gets hurt. Or the resources that you input, you can try to control the resources just to generate profit. So one of them came up with this idea that if I can guarantee you a certain level of profit, what do you say? And well, I said, that makes a lot of sense. So we took up that business, which was a very high turnover, low margin, but we knew where the bottom line was. And well, they were able to deliver that. So much against my wishes of trying to pick up businesses with high margin, we took up that business and we were very successful at it. So what I want to tell you is that it's not necessary that if I feel strongly for a particular thing, I want to impose that. I always get ideas from my people, and and sometimes it shows that their ideas are much better than mine, and I am not ashamed to say that. Well, as long as we are successful, I also take the credit for that as well.
Sure. You put a very high premium on loyalty and sincerity. Could you tell us why? I mean, in times like these, is it really that important?
Personally, I have gone through a lot of temptations, in my life when I have been made job offers which were very, very lucrative. And after making an analysis, I have refused that offer. Just to give you an example, I was once traveling and I met a gentleman, a businessman, at the Hong Kong airport, and we just got talking and got friendly. And he was a big businessman who had a very big operation in Nigeria, the US, and in the UK. So he wanted to set up something in Dubai, so I invited him to Dubai here. I spent a few of my holidays with him to show him around the place, got him a sponsor to run the business. 2 weeks later, he called me up and says, I want you to be on board with me, and whatever you're getting, I'm going to pay you that much in dollars. So it was like 4 times of what I was earning. So I asked him, what's the job that I'm supposed to do? He says, you just come on board. I like you as a person. I want you on board. And my wife will vouch for this, that many times I would get calls at, because he used to be sometime in New York, so I would get called at 1 o'clock in the night trying to persuade me to join him. The question I asked myself was, if he's going to pay me 4 times the salary, I need to generate that much of business and money for him, not knowing the role that I'm going to play. He's not going to, he may give me a salary for 6 months out of charity, but the 7th month he's going to hold me accountable. So that kind of temptation I avoided, and said, at one point I told him, thank you very much. I want to be where I am.
And these are the kinds of values that you look for when you're hiring people. So if somebody applies to you,
I look at, I wouldn't look at somebody, these days it's very difficult to have people working for 10, 15, 20 years. But I'd like to say that as long as, in the initial process of any organization, people learn for 6 months or 8 months. We don't want that period of training to get lost. So I'd like to see that at least they stay for 5 to 6 years. The endeavor is always to see that they'll live us, stay with us for a long time, but it's not always possible.
To be a market leader, you need innovation, you need creative thought processes. What systems or what methods have you deployed within your organization where innovation has been recognized, rewarded? Are there any examples like that?
Yeah. In fact, this was around 15 years ago. We realized that a lot of good staff would leave us because, for example, though we had a system of an annual appraisal, I think the credit to the company goes that we are one of the companies in the last 35 years, there's never a year where a salary has not been raised for the staff. In spite of that, there were certain people who were supposed to be put on fast track. But because of the overall structure, we were not able to do that. So we lost some very, people who, were very really lost for the organization. And then there was a balance sometime we had to do. The owner's aspiration was to keep the cost low, because in case something goes wrong with the business, he doesn't want to lose money. On the other hand, there were aspirations of the staff who were efficient and always expected that they should be getting more for their contribution to the organization. So I went back to the owner and told him, well, why don't we do one thing? Why don't we make our staff as the managers, basically, as participant in the partnership that, so whatever profit we generate, X amount of the profit should go as share to all the staff. Well, it's not easy, to convince an owner to, remove money from his pocket. But my last word to him was, I will commit to you that every year I will make more money than the previous year if you start the scheme. And I think it was something that, I felt strongly about, but I saw that I delivered it. And of course, the staff, some of our staff really appreciate the kind of management bonus that we have. Here, it's a partnership, and I realized that a lot of other companies in the electronic business now are doing this, but of course not to the same extent that we did.
You've reached a pinnacle in your life, and you're doing extremely well at Eros. Did you not feel at any point in your times that you wanted to be an entrepreneur and run your own business and have your own thing rather than be an employee?
Of course, many initial phases, many times this thought came to my mind, but you see, the kind of freedom the owner gave me in terms of running the business was exceptional. And, wherever there was a proposals, there was, for example, electronic business is something where obsolescence is, aging of product the age of the product is very short. And there were times when, we accumulated aging stock and we had to liquidate and lose $1 million or $2 million dirhams. But, I never